Valve's top secret game Deadlock has been officially released into an open playtest, completely unexpected, almost a week ago. This was official end to the quote-unquote content ban. With the official release of the open playtest, they also added a new character with this patch, Shiv. As cool as that is, I feel like a lot of people still don't understand the way the map layout works. So, welcome to On the to-do list, also known as the untitled notepad document on my computer, we'll be covering the map areas, objectives, farms, different item types, different damage types, and then how to build items according to the damage you're taking. Here is the map at the beginning of the match. Each team has 4 lanes with objectives on each lane. On the left here, you can see what the map will look like later on in the game. For these examples, we're going to use the map on the left here, just so we can see the different farm areas and different objectives on the map. Based on how far your team is pushed up or the enemy team is pushed up, these transit lines can grow or shrink in size. The first objective in the lane are the Guardians, essentially the first tower that you have to destroy before you can move further through the lane. The second objective is the Walkers. Basically a bigger tower, has more health, and does a little bit more damage to you. After the Walkers, you have the 2 Guardians right in front of the enemy base that protect the next objective, which are the 2 enemy shrines. It's good to note that the more objectives you destroy, the more flex slots you unlock, so the more items you can actually have in your inventory. Finally, the Patron is basically the enemy nexus. The Patron and Exposed Patron are just 2 different phases of the Patron's health. There are also farms located throughout the map, signified by a triangle. The more lines under the triangle, the harder the farm, the more the souls you get for killing them. The in-lane shops are represented by these little rectangles. Basically, when you lose your first Guardian, you lose the shop, and it prevents you from buying in-lane. Mid Monster reduces your respawn time, gives you souls, increases your minion strength, and makes you faster on the transit lines. This is honestly a huge comeback tool for late game. The Bridge Runes can give you boosts like fire rate, damage, or movement speed. Right next to the rune is the Urn, in which you pick up and bring to the opposite side of the map to increase souls for your team. But be aware, it takes away your weapon while you're transporting it. Next, we're going to cover the different item types. I should also quickly mention that each item type is broken up into 4 main categories. The early items cost around 500 souls. The early to mid-game items cost 1,250 souls. The late game items cost 3,000 plus souls, and the 4th tier is basically when your souls look like Jeff Bezos' bank account, costing 6,300 plus souls. Anyway, back to the item types. Weapon items will give you a stat boost, primarily to your weapon and melee damage. You can also get boosts for bullet resistance and bullet shield. Some of the weapon items can give a minor boost to your health and spirit power, and there are also a variety of active and passive abilities you can get from these items. So these items will mostly be catered towards the characters that are using their weapon or melee over their abilities. Vitality items will primarily focus on your health and survivability. You can find things like health increases, spirit and weapon shield, spirit and weapon resistance, and health regen increases. There are also some different passive and active effects that some of these items offer, similar to the way the weapon items do. The vitality items give minor boosts in other stats such as spirit power and fire rate. These items are more catered towards the tankier characters in the game. Allowing them to stay alive for a prolonged period of time, even when they are sustaining a high rate of damage, will allow for your teammates that are more damage oriented to deal damage to the enemies without having to worry about being targeted themselves. Now, if you couldn't guess based on the past 2 item types, spirit items will primarily focus on your abilities. These items will mainly give you boosts on spirit power and spirit resist. These items also have active and passive abilities that come with these items when purchased. The spirit items will be more directed to the characters that rely on their abilities more than anything. A quick example is Infernus's passive ability. Even though Infernus relies mostly on his weapon damage for the passive to work, if he focused building more spirit damage, it would make it harder for his enemies to survive the engagement due to the long-lasting spirit damage that will be affecting them. To wrap up all the different item categories, it's basically all the same thing, just a different font. Each item category will have a main focus and then give small boosts along the way to help the other categories out. Now, quite honestly, since how many different builds and items there are in this game, plus it being so new, me telling you what to build really isn't the end-all be-all. you're going to have to experiment with different items based on what you see on your incoming damage chart when you die. So for instance, when it comes to this chart, you can see majority of the damage I've taken before I died was spirit damage, but the most damaging person did bullet damage to me. So it all comes down to, if I want to survive a big team fight, I'm probably going to need to build spirit damage. But if I did know that I was going to be dueling in a 1v1 haze more often than a team fight, I would want to focus more on the bullet resistance. So what I want to do next is kind of give you an example of what I'd be building with this scenario, and try to give you like a good example of where my mind's at and maybe how you should be thinking when you're in this situation. So here I'm probably going to be looking at maybe building some improved spirit armor or improved bullet armor, which build off of just the default bullet armor and spirit armor items. After building the default versions of these items, if this damage persists, I will definitely be hunting down that improved variant. Similar to the two armors, Veil Walker is going to be giving you a shield instead of resistance, which is basically just two separate health bars that absorb that type of damage. Now, based on what's going on with the team fights, I could go Ethereal Shift or Metal Skin just to become untargetable and just be immune to all the damage that's incoming if I really need to escape fast. It won't help you absorb the damage, but it'll definitely be able to get you to escape a fight if you need to. If you already have a bunch of tanky items, what you could do, for instance with Abrams, is get Life Strike, which is just going to give you a bunch of melee damage, and it's going to give you a bunch of lifesteal when you melee them. So basically you're just trying to outrace their damage with healing yourself with the lifesteal. So let's say you haven't died and you don't get this damage incoming chart, you could just look at the enemy buys by holding tab and hovering over them. This will allow you to see what they're building and how they're trying to hurt you, and then you can counter that based off of what you're seeing. This, honestly, even though I'm not good at it, it's going to separate the good players from the mediocre players. You trying to stay proactive against the enemy team and trying to counter their builds as they're building them. This wasn't planned for the video, but I discovered this while I was recording. If you can see here, when you slide, you actually get infinite ammo, and I thought it was just a cool little like tidbit to add for the video because, you know, I guess it's kind of basic and I didn't even know about it. So I hope you guys enjoyed Deadlock for Dummies, and I'll catch you later. Bye.